And you're welcome back to The Pulse. Now, the latest World Bank Country Development Report is raising concerns that Ghana's economy has become more reliant on natural resource extraction. The concern comes in the wake of government's policy to procure oil using gold on the international market. Fuel prices in Ghana have remained high as the country struggles to get enough forex for oil imports. For now, government says it is negotiating a gold for oil barter deal to address the country's dwindling forex exchange reserve and also to address the rising prices of petroleum products on the market. Deputy Energy Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adams was on the probe last night with MFRPA.
I think that government, as you know, is concerned about some of the difficulties. I mean, our economy is facing. And every day, every hour, every minute, we are thinking about solutions. We are also open to ideas, including innovative ones, that will help all of us solve the problems of our country. And we know that petroleum prices has been one of the major challenges because we are import dependent for the petroleum products that we use in our country. And the fact that we do not have control over the prices of these products means that we are exposed and our economy is exposed. Inflation is increasing as a result of that. And then also the demand for forex, dollars to buy the products. The fact is that the products are bought in dollars, but when they bring it in, they sell in cedis. They then have to go and look for the dollars from the market to be able to pay their suppliers in dollars. So this cycle imposes enormous pressure on the domestic currency. And this is why we also experience depreciation in our currency. And so to address the two challenges of pricing and then also at the same time reduce the demand for dollar, the pressure on our cedi, this idea was conceived. And we've been discussing it behind the scenes, and we will further from this week engage the citizens of Ghana more on the operationalization of this policy. Okay. Now, to explain to you how this policy will work.
I'll get to how this policy will work. I'll get to how the policy will work because this involves gold, our precious mineral as a country. Why is it that the Vice President announced this through his Facebook page and it appears that it was the same time that we're going to read the budget? How is it that it did not find expression there, but rather on the Facebook page of the Vice President? That's the key question that people are asking. If this is an important deal for government, should it be through a social media platform?
Well, I think that we must not take this out of context. Government will use any means to communicate to the citizens of Ghana. And the fact that you were able to access this information through social media means that it is a reliable, convenient, and accessible means by which citizens of Ghana can get information from government. And the fact that we put it out through social media is the reason we are discussing this subject today. And many other people who haven't seen it through social media will have the opportunity to listen to this program and understand it better. And as I said, we are going to further engage stakeholders, some of whom have been engaged over the last 3 weeks. And we are not ending it here. We will continue to engage. You know that policy making is not an event, it's an ongoing process. And this is what we intend to do.
Okay, so let's talk about it because it appears that even before the announcement, a lot of background work had already started. And I know you are key in this negotiation. Let's talk about it. Where exactly are we with talks on this?
So we have been engaging with a number of stakeholders, those in the oil industry in Ghana. We have engaged the Bank of Ghana. We also have been talking to oil suppliers, those who supply petroleum products to our country through the BDCs. And we also have been engaging gold refiners as well as gold brokers. And so extensive discussions and consultations have taken place over the last 1 month. And this is why at this point we are confident that we can implement that policy, hence the announcement by His Excellency the Vice President. Now, the main factors that we need to look at to implement this policy are, as you asked, do we have enough gold to exchange for our oil requirement? And secondly, do the oil suppliers agree to accept gold in exchange for the product they supply to our market? So these are two fundamental factors. And for both factors, I can say, yes, I'm very affirmative. We have enough.
Well, although we have enough gold, the World Bank is increasingly getting concerned that the country is becoming reliant on our natural resources. In the latest Climate, Country and Development report issued by the World Bank Group as of October this year, there are concerns about how Ghana is failing to manage its natural resources. So let's bring you excerpts of what that report says right now on your screens, and portions indicates that Ghana has achieved major development gains over the past 3 decades, but progress has slowed and there are causes for concern going forward. Now, the economy has become more reliant on natural resource extraction, and poverty reduction and job creation have slowed. Ghana has not fully managed to convert its natural wealth into sufficient infrastructure, human and institutional capital to continue to grow at a fast rate, and it has become the country has been depleting its renewable natural capital. Now, on the projections for gold and other resources that we have, the indication is that Ghana sought to fuel our development by leveraging the markets. But as it stands now, debt sustainability is a concern compounded by the crisis, which is obviously the COVID-19 pandemic. And we know of the Russian-Ukrainian crisis as well. Beyond that, there's the shifting demand patterns from the global decarbonization that will also have some implications for Ghana. So the projection is that going forward, we may have a situation where, of course, obviously now, as we know it, 3/4 of our exports are concentrated on oil, gold, and cocoa, all of which will be affected, as the projection is now, by global decarbonization efforts. So we'll have particularly oil and some of these resources affected by the projections on the market. So let me bring in now Yurinchi Entry. He is the former Director of Operations for the Ghana Association of Small-Scale Miners. We also do have Dr. Yusuf Sulemana. He is an energy strategist. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Doc, I'd like to start off with you. Of course, you've heard the analysis there by the Deputy Energy Minister. Talks are already going on with the Emiratis and in some parts of Europe. Will this deal be a solution to the problems that we're having in terms of having cheaper fuel on the Ghanaian market?
Thank you very much, Blessed, and good afternoon to you and your cherished viewers in Ghana. And my big congratulations to our gallant Black Stars for this victory. Yeah, so I've heard the Deputy Energy Minister mention very interesting points. Yes, we do have an issue, and the issue here is about, our ability to be able to make up the shortfalls in our forex. And so, a policy like that, of that nature, of that quantum, if on the surface, if it's able to close that gap, what the gap I mean is that on monthly basis, I think we need about $450 million to be able to import finished products. And that is a huge burden. And I think Bank of Ghana is not able to make up for this. And so if this policy is in a way is to complement what's already existing so that we don't unnecessarily put so much pressure on the dollar in terms of the scarcity or the availability of the dollar, I think it's a good thing altogether. That's on the surface. But Blessed, if it delves into it, we already have, my concern is already the existing market players that we have. The downstream, as we speak now, it has come to stay. It has contributed about 8% of our GDP. So bringing a kind of whatever policy it is, if it is end up being destructive to the industry as in downstream, I think it's going to be destructive to the entire economy. But I was very much pleased to hear that they've already started, stakeholder engagement from the Deputy Energy Minister. And that is the way to go. Because I think now our PSPs, that is Petroleum Service Provider, what they will ask you, what will be our role in this kind of deal? Is it that our business are going to be folded up? Is government going to take over the whole business? I don't think that should be the way to go. if the policy is to be very successful, I think it should be complementary, and it should be seamless, such that they can roll in the existing PSPs who are already holding the market, so whatever differences that they cannot make up, if the gold to oil exchange is going to work on that, I think that should be a way to go. So going forward on the surface, I think it's beautiful, but I think a detailed analysis has to be done so that, the gain should not be disproportionate to the loss that we potentially have to, we can be potentially be subjected to in terms of our downstream players. My problem, we shouldn't affect the downstream players. Otherwise, that would be a disaster.
You'll be explaining that for us shortly, because there's a need for us to understand you on that point. But do we have the capacity in the first place? And I want to hear from Emmanuel Yorinchi, who has been the former director of operations for the Ghana Association of Small-Scale Miners. We just heard the deputy minister there indicate that we're able to produce, for instance, the 8 billion tons of gold that we may be in need of for the year. But from your perspective, Emmanuel Yorinchi, what analysis do you have on that? And first of all, is this a feasible policy going forward?
Yeah, thank you very much. And kudos to our gallant blasters. And good afternoon to your cherished listeners and viewers, especially small-scale miners across the country. Yes, so to start with, yes, I think even the small-scale industry alone has the capacity to foot close to 250 million US dollars worth of gold on a monthly basis. And then this is the small scale alone. Therefore, if the community mining part is also brought into bear, and then I read also from the minister's release that had some form of negotiation with the large scales as well, and that somehow they have agreed to contribute 20% of their total gold production. If that is correct, then I think that the industry is more than capable of footing the bill of 450 million US dollars as we need for that. And look, it's a good thing, it's a good policy, and I'll urge every Ghanaian to support it, because we mine the gold here. And once it is mined, you don't need to convert it to another currency and then back again. I.e., what we are doing now, we mine the gold, we buy or we sell it in the local currency. People bring in dollars, we purchase, they convert that back into the local currency again, and in every conversion we lose some value. And therefore, this particular proposition that we use the gold directly, I believe that it will go a long way to help our economy, and it's long overdue.
Within our country now, the biggest concern is about illegal mining. Do you see any connections here? There are some skeptics who say, what government is trying to do, well, the timing may not be right, because you're channeling all of your energy to sanitizing the small-scale sector and dealing with illegal mining, and yet you're going on this ambitious target of a demand-driven, aggressive search for gold. The believers will maybe resurrecting tendencies of illegal mining. Do you share that same fear as well?
Not at all, my brother. This particular government have put in place some serious measures in dealing with the illegal mining canker. And I believe that it has yielded some results. And with the needed efforts and concentration, we can even achieve more. One important thing that I want all of us to understand is that the mining industry is one of the well-regulated industries in the country, and therefore, if also government will channel a fraction of what government spent on, for instance, Operation Halt, and give it to the agencies that are responsible for regulating the sector, i.e. Minerals Commission, EPA, and the rest, I believe that we can easily arrest that problem or reduce it to the barest minimum. And then with this new found love of gold for our oil, then basically government and all involved, all stakeholders should come together and then make this thing work. And again, do so in a very sustainable way.
Yeah, I'm glad you're stressing on the sustainability aspect. Dr. Yusuf Suleiman, do you equally have concerns about safety? Because yes, we may be solving one problem, but we might end up creating another.
Yeah, so that's a fact, and such a policy, it has to be well thought through, and it has to be sustainable. That is the key word. Because, like I said, you don't try to solve a problem and then you end up creating another problem somewhere. And in fact, the problem that potential could be created, that could have significant impact on our GDP, like I mentioned. So, but I believe, I always believe the fact that, if you have a commodity that you have competitive advantage on, and you can leverage on that to solve key problems, I don't have any problem with that. If we do have enough gold reserves, and then we can take part of that to be able to do this kind of deal, I don't have any problem with that. I think the Deputy Energy Minister mentioned that we do have enough gold reserve. That is something that I'm struggling to, appreciate.
Well, is it the case that you doubt the figures, for instance?
Yes, I mean, we need, well, I don't have that much of detail, but I think we need about $450 million US. And if you look at on monthly basis to be able to import this finished product. So my understanding is, from where I stand, what I'm trying to say is that it should not be like a complete rollover. It should be partial. If it is on a partial basis, whereby we are only coming in to complement, whatever the BDCs cannot make up in terms of the dollar availability, that should be okay. So we will just take the Deputy Minister on his word that we do have enough gold, to be able to do that. If we do have, I don't have any problem with that. Then what somebody can also say, why don't we then sell the gold, get the dollars and inject into the system? That can be an easy way to go, anyhow. But all that depends on the kind of strategy that we want to champion.
For you, which one would have been appropriate? Which one would have been appropriate?
Any distraction onto our downstream sector.
Right.
At the end of the
for
day.
you, which of the methods
is balloon?
Doc, for you, which of the methods would have been appropriate? Taking the gold, selling it, and of course bringing in the forex.
Yeah. So yes, that if you have available people who can buy it, and we do have it in that much, that is easy. In fact, the reason why barter trade came to, we shifted away from barter trade, is the fact that, currency trade became more flexible. So because when you're going to barter trade, you need to be able to identify that the other end, the other person going to the agreement, he requires that same, he needs that, the person also agently needs that product. Other than that, people are going to be taken advantage of, especially if our partners that we're going to deal with, they really are of the view that Ghana will need the petroleum product so much, and so they can take advantage of that. So in any case or in any day, I think currency trade should have been better as compared to barter. Like I said, but however, if we are not able to get the gold converted to US dollars and use the US dollar to come into the system just to manage it, and the easier way is to use the gold, then that will mean that we'll have to have enough gold reserve. If you have enough gold reserve, I think that shouldn't be a problem. But I think I would have gone for, if you have ready market, we have the gold, we have ready market, and people can buy it. Of course, gold is supposed to be bought in hard currency. Let's buy it and bring that currency and then use it to stabilize whatever we do. But I think that's going to be difficult. Maybe that's why we are going into this kind of barter system, whereby probably somebody has the petroleum products, available, and then we also have the gold. That is not a problem at all. But there is a little bit of constraint. There's no flexibility in barter trade, I can tell you, unless the two parties or the two partners are interested in each other commodity. And I think the Deputy Minister mentioned a point that the buyers are interested, and we are also willing to do. So in that case, we only need to negotiate and make sure that we are having the value for the gold.
Okay then, Emmanuel, for you, complementing the efforts of the large-scale sector, obviously the negotiations may not necessarily be targeted at the small-scale level, but then the question is, should we be involving, or in fact, to what extent should we even be involving the small-scale sector as we roll on this gold for oil policy?
Frankly, the small-scale sector is the easiest sector to target, because basically this is business that belongs to purely Ghanaians and preserved for Ghanaians. And so everything that is earned from it is retained in Ghana. And therefore, it's very easy to target the small-scale sector for us to produce the needed gold that is needed. unlike the large scales that government may have to go into some serious negotiations. Yes, small scale sector, some negotiations needs to be done. However, that will not be very difficult compared with the large scale. But then I want to also address the point that we may not have enough gold in Ghana.
Right.
A book comes to mind, Ashanti Gold. It was written by Professor Yensu. And in that book, one of the descriptions that he described the gold reserves of Ghana was that if you take Ghana, all the gold reserve as a standard center table in one's living room, all the gold that we have mined so far up to 2006 was just a scratch on that center table.
Really?
And so coming from, yes.
So
coming
which
from
means the deficit that we have is quite significant.
Exactly. I mean, all this while we have been mining from the Ashanti regions and then the western regions and partly from the eastern regions. We are now discovering more gold in the northern regions and then the Volta regions and all of that. So that should tell you that we have more than enough reserves for this exercise. And I still stand by the point that if we are to use gold directly, it's going to benefit us more, and it's a bit much more flexible than using the forex, because there are a lot of factors that come into the forex. And if you want to convert from gold into US dollar and then back again into the CD and all of that, there are a whole lot of calculations that you need to do, and a loss of value along the chain, because there will be people in there that will also benefit from the chain. But in this case, we mine the gold from here in Ghana directly, and then we sell it directly, right? And if you do that, but one of the important part of the supply chain of the gold that government should take a critical look at is the refinery sector. All this while we have not been able to develop our refinery part of the supply chain. And therefore, it's very important that government take a critical look at this chain, at this part of the chain, so that we can refine the gold here and hallmark it here in Ghana. That way, it's very easy to convert it to whatever we want to convert it to, so we can get the commodity that we want.
If we're to go on that approach that you're talking about, how soon can we get a deal? Because government is targeting March at most.
Yes, I know somewhere around 2018, we started serious discussion around this whole thing. And I believe that government has gone far on it, and hopefully we can get there within a short possible time. I don't have the figures or the facts here now, but I believe that government is serious about that one. We have been talking about it on several platforms and all of that. So I believe that government is working on that as well. But it's very key and very important that we do refine and hallmark our own gold here in Ghana so that we can sell it directly.
Dr. Yusuf, what sort of a message will we be sending to the international community now, knowing that we're still running an IMF negotiation and we're planning to do a barter trade? That may trigger some concerns, isn't it?
Yeah, sure, certainly, because if you look at the release that you just read, and you look at the history, our gold mining and the kind of environmental degradation that is associated with that, we haven't done so well. And so if you are going to such a deal with this kind of arrangement, there will definitely be, a kind of eyebrows being raised. However, for me, if you look at these SDGs that they talk about, these sustainable development goals, SDGs 13 is talking about climate action. And I think their point is about the fact that we've lagged a little bit on the climate actions. But you have to entangle that or compare that with the fact that we also have SDG 7. SDG 7 is showing, SDG 7 is talking about access, free access to affordable, reliable electricity or energy or power. That is not there. If you as we speak now about, after more than about 600 million African continent, African population of African continent are still without reliable source of power. And so these SDGs, as much as they are, that they always use it to, to talk about nations' achievement. I always believe that we shouldn't look at our SDG or what we call ESG, environmental, social, governance credentials, to affect our energy security. It's very key. If we do that, especially if they are hitting us on climate change or climate actions, then we have to ask them, what about SDG 7? Of course, we don't have that affordable energy. So, yeah, this has been the case, but it's country-based. Ghana, per se, we have to know what we can drive specific advantage on. Yes, so the UN and then the United Nations, IMF or whatever, they may take us on this. And that's why I always talk about the fact that let's try to be self-reliant. If we're self-reliant, we are not going to be so much worried about somebody holding cane at any point telling us to do this and that. And coming back substantially to what my good friend raised, he raised a very important point. But I want to say that having gold reserve is different from, making sure that it's extractable. In oil, we have something called, you have reserve. You can have 1 billion reserve, you can have 1 million reserve, but the ability for you to be able to extract it, and your share of it is what is critical. Yes, we do have that. What's our share of it? That is critical. We've been producing oil for the last for the last decade. What do we have to show for oil? And gold is even worse. I can tell you. How long have we been producing gold? Have we been extracting gold? And we don't have a single gold refinery as we speak now. So these are the key issues. It's not about having the reserve.
Right.
But what do we have to show for that?
Right. And finally, for you, Doc, how about looking inward? The belief, or some experts have also, thrown about that argument that we could renegotiate the terms on our oil fields. That's another way to go while we ready tour and then deal with our problems domestically. Is that a feasible approach to take?
Yeah, so in this particular, let me come to the upstream. Like you said, I'm not too happy about what has happened in our upstream. We have 3 oil fields as we speak now. We cannot produce more than 200,000 of oil per stream day. That is so unfortunate. The upstream side, we are not doing that so well. But this particular problem that we have, I think it has to do with the downstream side. And so a more credible conduit that I would have advocated would have been an inward solution. What we are doing now is not an inward solution. And I can tell you that it may not be sustainable. The sustainable way is for us to actually refine the oil here. We have to have a very efficient oil refinery. If you have a refinery and it's very efficient, it can churn out this finished product. These forex issues will be a thing of the past. So yes, as much as they want to do this barter trade, I go with the fact that internal solution is what is sustainable. And in this particular situation, the credible internal solution would have been to have a local-based refinery that is robust enough to be able to do that. And I think we are capable. So may not require more than $500 million. We are using 450 to import finished product every month. What are we doing to ourselves?
Right. So let me give the final words to you, Emmanuel, as we wrap up on this conversation.
Yeah. All right, thank you. For years, gold contribution to the Ghana's GDP cannot be brushed aside. It has contributed significantly to Ghana's GDP. I believe that this particular policy, gold for oil, is very important for this country, and it's long. All should run around and support this government to do this. And governments should also look at how we are able to empower locally refineries that are going to be able to refine and hallmark our gold. And then also government should invest directly into our gold sector, especially through community mining and small-scale mining. That way we can produce more than enough, and we can shore up our forest reserves so that at the end of the day, we can strengthen our city, right, and it will help everybody. It's important that we support government.
All right, then. Yes. And we're grateful for your time. Emmanuel Urinchi, former Director of Operations for the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners. Also, you heard from Dr. Yusuf Suleiman, an energy strategist.